Hi, everybody. Last time we talked to each other, I was telling you about the experience of going in to visit a group of people that I haven't known before, things that I can do or think about or say that might actually help me as I'm entering an unfamiliar situation and I'm trying to build relationships with people that I don't know. And I do this because a resilient local community is one in which people who are not like each other nevertheless know each other and therefore are less likely to be committing violence on each other. And I told you that a lot of times after a visit like this, I'll make a point of really thinking about the experience that I've just had. And I want to talk to you about how I do that and suggest that maybe this is a thing you might try yourself. One of the things that you can do, I'm just going to give you questions. You can ask yourself after leaving a visit, let's say that you've been to a study group. There's a group of people that are reading a book together and they're studying this book. So after you have left that, one of the things you can ask yourself is, how did my body feel during that conversation? You can also ask yourself, how did my heart feel during that conversation? And what that does is it starts to teach you something about how you are reacting physiologically and emotionally to the situation. And that's actually really important because it's not only giving you information about the situation and the people you were interacting with, but it's giving you information about yourself and your own reactions and thinking about the moments when maybe you tensed up, or maybe you were really anxious, or maybe you felt really relaxed, and thinking about what are some of the things that were going on in the space that made me feel that way. And does that feel to me like a reasonable reaction? Because again, like I said, it's teaching me something about myself when I think about those questions. I might also ask questions like, when in this conversation or this experience did I feel most at ease? And when did I feel the most curious? And when did I feel the most uncomfortable? So say that I had gone into a store that I haven't been into before. What about this store made me feel at ease? When did I feel curious about other people? When did I feel uncomfortable with the situation? And that's going to give me a sort of a lead on where would I go next time I tried the same thing again? So if I went back to the same store, can I lean into the piece of it that made me feel curious? And can I follow up and talk to people about whatever I was feeling curious about? That's a way that I can go about this. I can ask myself other questions about the group of people who were in the room. One of the really simple questions is just, who was there? Literally, who was there? Who did I notice was there? What kinds of people were there? And is that who I was expecting to be there? Is that who I was hoping to meet? I can also ask myself the question, who was in charge and how did I know who was in charge? And this is an important piece because it's teaching me something about how this group of people is thinking about leadership. And that might be very different from how I'm thinking about leadership. But who was in charge of the space and how did I know? What were the patterns of communication look like? I love this one. Patterns of communication means like who talks and when and for how long and what kind of language are they using, and is it verbal or is it nonverbal? One of the reasons I love this so much is because the patterns of communication vary enormously from one group of people to another in this country. And I have this really interesting experience of trying to adjust enough to the pattern of communication in the space that I can actually jump in and participate in the conversation in a way that's reasonable, but then I'm still kind of stuck in the person that I am. And I don't want to be false. I want to be natural to who I am, but also trying to fit into this other situation. So it's just in noticing, what were the patterns of communication like? What was hospitality like in this space? How did people greet me? Where did they tell me to go? Or how did they tell me where to go? And what were they feeding people? And what was the space like in general? Was it comfortable? And thinking about these questions, when I'm learning stuff like patterns of communication and how people are showing hospitality, one of the things that I'm learning from that is I'm thinking about, how could I maybe in the future make a space where this group of people would feel comfortable visiting me? If I wanted to have that turnabout at some point, how would I do that? What was considered the most important thing? This is fascinating too, because it's a big cultural difference. A lot of times the thing that we say we're going to do when we get together And the actual thing that is considered most important once we do get together are not the same. So sometimes, for example, you'll go into a sporting event and you'll think that the most important thing is going to be the baseball game that people are playing. But it turns out that the most important thing is the part before the game where everybody is eating hot dogs and having conversations about their grandchildren. And you're thinking, huh, that's not what I thought I was walking into. But that's a really important piece of information. And next time I'm going to be prepared for an emphasis on hot dogs. And it tells me something about how these people are thinking. Were there rules about behavior, and how did people know what the rules were? This is another cultural difference, weird navigation kind of, it's not a moral issue if the rules function differently in another place. So again, I'm picking up on understanding more deeply the group of people and how I can fit in and how I can start to build these relationships. I also might ask myself, why did people choose this experience in this place with this group? Because that's going to tell me something about who they are as well. Why are they coming here? Why did they want to be part of this art show or whatever it is? And what does that teach me about the relationships that I'm trying to build? And then the last thing that I always ask, and sometimes it's the first thing and the last thing that I ask, is what surprised me about the people I met. I find it amazing that people just constantly surprise me. And usually they surprise me in a good way. Sometimes it's in a bad way, and sometimes it's in a neutral way. But people's perspectives, behaviors, opinions, knowledge constantly surprises me, which feels bizarre because I would think that at a certain point I would get better at knowing what to expect from a group of people. But that never happens. And it's actually amazing, because that's election violence prevention at work right there. Is that piece where I'm clocking, oh, this group of people that I thought I had a basic idea of who they would turn out to be, actually that's not who they are at all, and I need to disrupt the kind of rumors and othering and assumption that's been going on in my head. So those are some basic questions. Again, I'm asking myself this question, this list of questions when I go out of an experience like this one, because it's giving me an opportunity to learn about myself, learn about my assumptions, learn about the other group of people, and prepare to keep building that relationship. Next time we see each other, I want to tell you about another resource, again, another one from Braver Angels, and it's something called the Depolarizing Within Workshop. And that's going to be next time.